Part 76. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 756. Hey? Brother Guan, please calm down. We are all quality people, how can we curse others? Han Qian stretched out his hand to stop Guan Yunbiao. The latter pushed Han Qian away, pulled out a short knife from behind his waist and walked towards Yang Jianfeng, frowning. You, my brother talked to you properly once or twice and you didn't remember it. Why did you complain behind your back? I heard that your brother-in-law is quite awesome, right? I'll chop off one of your fingers first and order appetizers. Suliang stepped forward and held Guan Yunbiao, saying softly. Biozi. Don't be impulsive. Suliang stepped forward, took out a stack of documents from his bag, put them on the table, and chuckled. Director Yang, my name is Suliang. We should have met. I am here today to discuss business with you. I am here to discuss cooperation with you on behalf of the Honor Group. I hope you can terminate the cooperation with Changxiang Group and the plan for breach of contract. I'm ready. We at Glory will be responsible for losing money or going to court. After saying this, Guan Yunbiao pushed Suliang away, picked up the documents on the table, threw them against the wall, and pointed a knife at Yang Jianfeng. What are you talking about? Last time your internet celebrity beat my brother and I didn't ask you to settle the score. Now I'm reporting that my brother is close to Feng Lun, right? Come on. If you don't tell me 1, 2, 3, 4 today, take it. If you present some evidence, let's play it slowly. Should I go to jail and be sentenced to death, or should you, Yang Jianfeng, be so awesome that you can withstand the punishment of Ling Qi? Guan Yunbiao stepped forward and grabbed Yang Jianfeng's collar. At this time, Yang Jianfeng was already frightened. He knew Binhai's Guan Daegu. This desperado who had done everything from kidnapping, extortion, blackmailing, and murdering people was just like him. Man's nemesis. He was also afraid of death. Seeing that the knife was about to fall on his finger, Yang Jianfeng looked at Han Qian and said anxiously. Young Master Han. Young Master Han, we have something to discuss. We have something to discuss. Han Qian looked at Yang Jianfeng and said confused. What? What are you discussing? This matter has nothing to do with me. I didn't let Guan Yunbiao kill you, and I didn't let Suliang sign a contract with you. What are you discussing with me? I don't quite understand why you want to sue me. Did I hit you or scold you? I see that you are quite busy. After you finish the things in front of you, we will continue our chat. The tip of the knife pierced the back of his hand, Yang Jianfeng said urgently. Master Han. Master Han, I was wrong. It was Lin Mend who asked me to report you. My concubine was a junior from the same village as Lin Mend. He found out that you threatened me with bullets and took me to see you. Brother-in-law. Han Qian nodded to Guan Yunbiao, who lowered his sword an inch again. Sweat appeared on Yang Jianfeng's painful forehead and he shouted loudly. Master Han. Master Han, let me tell you that Lin Mend promised me a benefit and said he would give me 20% of the profit dividend. He borrowed 90 million from me for emergency purposes. I was afraid that Lin Mend would collapse, so, just choose to deal with me with him, right? Han Qian walked up and sat on the table, looked down at Yang Jianfeng lying on the table and said again. You are really courageous. Now that Lin Mend is in trouble, you still dare to give him 90 million. Why has Lin Mend been so quiet recently? You are the one who is behind this. Now call Lin Mend and ask him to pay back the money. Yang Jianfeng raised his head and sighed. Master Han, how can I fight this? If you are short of money, I will get it for you. Is 20 million enough? I gave it to you. Lin Mend and I agreed that it would be half a year. He would pay me back 95 million. If it exceeds at this time, I will use the shares to pay off the debt. This old bastard finally found a place to get money. No wonder he only got less than 200 million from the bank. Counting Yang Jianfeng's 90 million, Lin Mend now has about 400 million in his hands, which is far from the 500 million he said. It's still a little short of that. If nothing unexpected happened, enough money had been raised. Han Qian lowered his head and looked at Yang Jianfeng. I'll give you two choices. The first is to get the money back. The second is that I give you 80 million to take away the IOU that Lin Mend has in your hands. As for the 10 million, it will be regarded as your compensation for me. Yang Jianfeng hesitated, Guan Yunbiao chuckled, raised the knife and dropped it. Yang Jianfeng looked at the sharp blade piercing the table between his fingers and was so frightened that his legs weakened. He raised his head and looked at Han Qian, his face ashen. Sign, I will sign now, but Master Han, can you keep it a secret from me? Han Qian snapped his fingers at Yates, and Yates walked to the computer and started typing. Not long after, two agreements were printed out and placed on the table. Han Qian pointed at the agreement and whispered. Yates, watch him sign it, and then we have to go to the notary office to notarize it, so as not to say that I forced him. Yang Jianfeng had to sign the contract because he was really afraid of death. Yates made sure there was nothing wrong with the contract and put it in his bag. Then he nodded to Han Qian, who took out his mobile phone and called Nuan Nuan. Daughter-in-law, transfer 50 million to Yang Jianfeng. Now. I'll let the poems take over. After saying this, Han Qian dialed Qianling's phone number. Auntie, transfer 20 million to Yang Jianfeng. Now, I'm a little anxious. New. The last call was made to Gao Fulai. 10 million Yang Jianfeng. Good. After just a few phone calls, enough money had been raised. Han Qian looked at Yang Jianfeng, who was slumped in the chair, and laughed. I will give you 1 million as financial compensation in a moment. As for keeping it secret, I will call Lin Mend after the money is transferred to your account and tell him about it. I will see if you are willing to lose money yourself. 10 million and continue to give Lin Mend money, Lao Yang. The turmoil in Binhai City is not something you, a little shrimp, can get involved in. Just play with you young models and internet celebrities. Yang Jianfeng shakily lit a cigarette and whispered. Han Qian, what you are doing is illegal. You are blackmailing and extorting. Han Qian smiled, chuckled, and then sighed. Old Yang. You still don't seem to know why I can dance like this in Binhai without any problem at all. Binhai and Jingxi have only been separated for more than 20 years. They are about the same age as me. Those who were officials back then are now. You are still an official. Do you really want me to pull out your brother-in-law and publicly execute him? Do you believe that just an illegal cohabitation can make him retired for a few years? Do you think it will be fine if you have someone behind you? Do you want me? Now call Qin Yezu and ask him to come over and investigate. Investigate how your Fuhong group started and how did you get the land in Jingxi at a low price. Yang Jianfeng raised his head and said softly. Han Qian, please keep a line in your behavior so that we can meet each other easily in the future. Ha! With a sneer, Han Qian leaned forward, patted Yang Jianfeng's old face, and said with a smile. Meet each other? When you see me from now on, either call me Master Han, or don't let me see you reaching out to Binhai Circle again. You may not know me yet. There is a retired secretary behind you, and there is a retired secretary behind me. What about the young Major General? Why are you playing with me? Because of your age? Because of your many wrinkles? There is no such thing as respecting the elderly and caring for the young in the shopping mall. After finishing speaking, Han Qian took out his mobile phone and handed it to Yang Jianfeng. Call your brother-in-law now. Yang Jianfeng watched Han Qian motionless when Han Qian suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Yang Jianfeng's collar. I asked you to call your brother-in-law. Don't humming think I dare not kill you. The call was dialed, but no one answered. Han Qian took a deep breath. Yang Jianfeng took out his mobile phone and called his brother-in-law, who was in his 60s. The call was connected. Jianfeng. Han Qian took the phone and smiled. I'm Han Qian. Looking for a place to chat? Let's talk about the glorious history of your uncle, and learn from you. How can two women live in harmony? The old man on the phone was silent for a few seconds, then smiled. Ha ha ha, you little bastard, have you made fun of me, an old man? If you don't come to me, I still want to find you. See what a handsome young man Mr. Han from Binhai City is. Ecological Park? I arrange it, you bastard. Hey, that's so embarrassing. Master, can I come over right now? Well, you should go out in half an hour. My place is a bit far from the ecological park. There is no reason for juniors to wait for their elders. I will go now. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian patted Yang Jianfeng on the forehead and said with a smile. Will you lead the way? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 757. The ecological park is very novel for these high-ranking officials. For children like Han Qian who come from rural areas, it is like eating in a vegetable greenhouse. It really doesn't feel like it is any good. Yates looked at the vegetables grown in the ecological park and the seafood raised. Very curious. The only thing that made Han Qian curious was the waiters who were wearing roller skates to serve food. They all looked about 18 or 19 years old. They were probably masters of roller skating rinks before they entered the ecological park as waiters. The brush passed in front of him, Guan Yunbiao stretched out his leg in a playful manner, Han Qian raised his foot and stepped on his raised foot, frowned slightly and said softly. Brother Guan, if you really have nothing to do, drag Yang Jianfeng to a deserted place and beat him up. We will only bully rich people from now on, but we can't bully these children who work hard to make money. Guan Yunbiao turned to look at Han Qian, smiled and nodded. What Brother Han said makes sense, I've learned a lesson. Then he took Yang Jianfeng to the seafood area. Yates stood beside Han Qian and whispered that he wanted to go to the greenhouse to see if there were any fruits. Han Qian did not stop him, while Suliang went to catch fish with a fishing net. The manager of the ecological park looked nervously at the young people standing in the hall and looking around. She heard what she just said clearly. I was bored and beat up Director Yang. This understatement was like beating a dog, but that was the famous Yang Jianfeng of Jingxi City. Han Qian found a table and sat down at random. The manager bent down and said softly. Sir, there is a private room upstairs. Can we move it to the second floor? Han Qian shook his head and smiled. No, I'm waiting for someone here. Just prepare it according to Yang Jianfeng's recipe every time he comes. Do you sell cigarettes here? The manager's pretty face became nervous. Guests were generally not allowed to smoke in the lobby of the ecological park. He turned around and left without answering Han Qian's question. Not long after, the manager brought hot tea and a pack of soft drinks. An ashtray and a lighter were also handed over. Han Qian said softly. Thanks. The manager shook his head. You're welcome. Han Qian had just lit up his cigarette and took a puff when he heard the voice of Guan Degu. The shrimps here are not fat either. The manager took a deep breath and was about to explain when Han Qian spoke. Don't pay attention to him. We are from the coast. Living by the sea is fatter than the seafood in a city that is not close to the sea. He is used to it in the coast. Please bear with him if he causes any disturbance. We will pay for all losses compensation. The manager breathed a sigh of relief and said softly. Sir, you're welcome. Dissatisfaction with the guests is naturally the eco-park's problem. I'll prepare the food and drinks. You can call me anytime if you need anything. Okay. the polite Han Qian and the rude and overbearing Guan Degu. There was a sharp contrast between the two, but it was the polite young man's words that made the rude and arrogant guy restrain himself. About 20 minutes passed. 3 people walked in at the door, and the manager trotted over. Looking at the energetic old man with white hair, Han Qian narrowed his eyes, and the real master was here. Han Qian smiled and shouted, "Stop playing!" Several scattered people came back to him. Han Qian stood up and shouted to the old man. "Old man, your sense of time is very accurate, 29 minutes and 30 seconds. The retired man from Jinxi City pointed at Han Qian and laughed. "You kid, stop teasing me. It's obviously only 35 minutes. Han Qian smiled. No, you remembered wrong. The waiting time for you will never exceed 30 minutes. At this time, Yates whispered some information about the old guy in Han Qian's ear. Yao Guangde, 62 years old, was transferred to Jinxi as deputy mayor at the age of 30. 6 years later, he voluntarily resigned and retired due to health problems. Han Qian narrowed his eyes and nodded. Mr. Yao stepped forward and sat in front of Han Qian. Yang Jianfeng sat down next to his brother-in-law who was 10 years older than him. To be precise, he was his ex-brother-in-law. The man and woman who came with Yao Guangde also seated one after another. On Han Qian's side, only 2 people sat on the chairs. Neither Suliang nor Yates sat down, standing behind Han Qian expressionless. When Han Qian was about to speak, Guan Yunbiao picked up the cigarette on the table and held it in his mouth. In his mouth, he took a puff of cigarette and smiled. "Mr. Yao, we have met before, right?" Yao Guangde looked at Guan Yunbiao with confusion in his eyes and said softly. "Have you seen it? I'm old now and my memory is not very good." Guan Yunbiao laughed. "My master's surname is Tuesday. The lovely people in Binhai call me a big dog. You nobles are so forgetful. I, a bastard like me, hold grudges. You, my uncle, have repeatedly made trouble for my Chiener. You said what should I do? My Chiener has a broad mind, but this dog like me will definitely retaliate." Yao Guangde's expression remained unchanged and he laughed. "Your surname is Guan, right?" Guan Jun smiled. "The old man has a really good memory. Today, my Chiener wants to talk to you about business matters, but I have to talk about personal matters with you. You, my uncle, will lend me a few days, and I will take you back to Binhai to entertain you. How are you?" This time Yao Guangde didn't speak again. The man sitting next to him, about 40 years old, spoke. "Guan Degu. You can run wild on 1/3 of an acre of land in Binhai City. This is Jinxi. You have to think about it yourself. Does your master dare to talk like you when he comes to Jinxi?" Guan Yunbiao frowned, and then Suliang spoke. "Boss Tu is old and is a businessman. How could he do rude things? Besides, what happened today has nothing to do with Boss Tuesday. If you want to invite someone to talk, I will call you. Our Director Yan and Director Qian are here." Yao Guangde raised his head and glanced at Suliang. "A man of glory? Do you have the mastery?" Suliang smiled humbly. "I am not talented, and I happen to be able to make the decision on this matter. Binhai is currently in civil strife, with many companies competing, and I, Glory and Changxiang, have always been in a competitive relationship." Director Yang suddenly intervened in Binhai's business. "Several shareholders of my family asked me to come and have a chat with Director Yang, whether our Glory is not worthy, or whether Fowey Group wants to compete with our Glory." The woman spoke. "Business cooperation seems to be a private matter." Yates said calmly. "There is a grudge between my Mr. Han and Lin Zongheng." The 2 women looked at each other. Yates's eyes were very strong and aggressive. Han Qian, who had been silent until now, spoke and smiled. "What are you doing? Let's have a meal and chat with Mr. Yao. Why does this look like a fight?" "Liang Miss Ye, you two should sit down too. It's really tiring to stand. Yao Guangda chuckled. That's right, let's have a meal together, get familiar with each other, and communicate. Xiao Feng is indeed a little reckless in doing things, but this crime is not punishable by death. How can we stand up and bombard him? Can Xiao Qianer have some drinks? Han Qian smiled and nodded. It depends on how much you can drink. You drink, and I'll accompany you. Yao Guangda laughed loudly. At this time, the woman next to him got up to prepare drinks. The manager finally dared to let people serve food, but this time he did not let the children wearing roller skating come over. The man with the knife on his waist, it's better to pay attention. The two of them picked up the wine glasses and drank it all. Han Qian frowned. He didn't know what kind of wine it was. It was very spicy when it entered his throat. Yao Guangda picked up his chopsticks and took a piece of fish into his mouth, then smiled. Xiao Qianer, what Xiao Feng did this time made it difficult for you to do it? Han Qian chuckled. It's not difficult to mention, but I feel uncomfortable. Sun Zhenmin and Qin Yezu suddenly went to Binhai to celebrate the birthday of my wife's assistant, and they said something, saying that I threatened Xiao Feng with a gun. You said this with a toy. The joke about the gun reached the provincial government office. Did I make the fuss? Or is Xiao Feng being petty? Tell me. 50-year-old Yang Jianfeng turned into Xiao Feng in Han Qian's mouth, which made him feel as sick as eating a fly. Yao Guangda chuckled. It is true that Xiao Feng went too far in this matter, but it does not rule out that someone is messing with the situation. Some people showed sincerity, but you only took a toy gun. Han Qian put down the wine bottle he was about to pour and chuckled. Sincerity? You have to ask Yang Jianfeng whether I am sincere or not. It's a pity that people don't like it. I put it bluntly. Changxiang Group is my possession. If anyone dares to put his hand in, then I can only chop him up. The clause, so. I want to say hello to you today, but it depends on you whether to chop the clause or not. Chop it? Why not chop it? If young people are not impulsive, then they are called young people. From Yao Guangda's eyes and words, Han Qian felt a bit contemptuous. He took a deep breath, and the next second he pulled out the short knife from Guan Yunbiao's waist and stood up and walked towards Yang Jianfeng. The sharp blade picked up Yang Jianfeng's wrist, and then grabbed the wrist and pressed it. On the table, he raised the short knife in his hand and dropped it hard. Yang Jianfeng let out a scream of terror. The sharp knife cut the tablecloth. Han Qian looked at the table with some doubts. Then he looked at Yang Jianfeng, who was covering his hands. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment. It's my first time, I don't have much experience, so I asked him to avoid it. Brother Guan is here to help. Guan Yunbiao stood up, and the man next to Yao Guangda stood up and stood in front of him. Yao Guangda looked at the knife mark under the table, stood up with a smile, grabbed Han Qian's hand, and said softly. You kid, why don't you know how to make a joke? If you really chop off Xiao Feng's hand, won't we have nothing to talk about in the future? Han Qian chuckled. I do not care. Yao Guang laughed. If there is an old man in the family, like a treasure, it is better for you and me to be friends than to be enemies. I really can't afford to offend the big guys behind you, but if you say you want to chop off Xiao Feng's hand, I am your brother-in-law. You can't look at it, right? Han Qian put away the knife and handed it to Yeji, smiling. Mr. Yao is still smart, but I don't know if he is the same as Yang Jianfeng. If he agrees with me, he will go to the Yamen gate to sue me. How about this? I'll find a friend to talk to you. The nearest Yamen gate. I've always wanted to catch a fat tiger. Why don't you do me a favor and go to jail for a few days? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, The ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 758. Haha, young people, don't talk too much. Yao Guang laughed very kindly, and Han Qian also laughed and said with a smile. You may not know yet, but Qin Yaozu is going crazy from torture right now, and there is another piece of news that I think you already knew. I won't tell you the details. I will only tell you one piece of news. I only need to name one person now. Multiple government offices will go to investigate this person. How about we give it a try? If you go in, I will slowly deal with Yang Jianfeng. If nothing happens to you, how can you be okay? Yao Guang laughed loudly and said with a smile. Drink. Let's talk slowly. Change to Maotai. This wine is too spicy. Han Qian sat down again. Yao Guangda took the initiative to get 2 glasses of wine and said softly. Tell me what you want. I've said what I have to say, but it's a pity that you, my uncle, don't listen. Then let's change the way. Isn't Lin Mend asking Yang Jianfeng to borrow money? Continue to borrow this money, but I want Yang Jianfeng to be the middleman for this money. I'll get it. If Yang Jianfeng can do it, we can happily make money together. If he is playing tricks behind his back, Lao Yao. Don't blame me for not respecting the elderly and loving the young. Don't threaten me, an old man. I'm just stating a fact. Drink and drink. The dinner lasted for an hour. Yao Guangda made an excuse to leave, taking Yang Jianfeng with him when he left. Han Qian glanced at the time and saw that it was time to go back to Binhai. When he stood up, he stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Han Qian he told Yates to go check out and walked out of the ecological park with the help of Guan Yun Biao. After Yao Guangda got in the car, he slapped Yang Jianfeng. If it weren't for the sake of Xiao Le calling you uncle, I would have killed you a long time ago. What are you doing to provoke this little lunatic? Behind him are Li Jinhan, Zhao Lehua, Cheng Jin, and Cai King Hu. You see he has nothing, but in fact his advantages have spread to the entire province. Yang Jianfeng covered his injured hand and whispered. Can he push down Lin Mend? Lin Mend is an old dragon entrenched in the seaside. I'm still a mountain tiger in Jingxi. Do you think I dare to provoke this little lunatic now? Feng Lun is jumping outside. As long as Feng Lun is not arrested for 1 day, the name Han Qian said will be investigated. Isn't it because of me that your group can grow in Jingxi? If he chops off your hand in the future, just stick out your neck. After the words fell, Yao Guangda pinched his chin and said softly. That Misya is pretty good. Returning to the Lexus in Binhai City, Han Qian sat in the back and leaned on Yates's shoulder, resting with his eyes closed. Sul Yang, who was sitting in the passenger seat, said softly. Qian can this Yang Jianfeng be obedient? Han Qian closed his eyes and said calmly. Absolutely not, but Yao Guangda will be obedient. I guess he retired early to pave the way for his children. If he is investigated, everything will be over. But specifically, does Yao Guangda have any violations of law or discipline? I really don't know. If I can knock, I'll knock. If I can cheat, I'll blow it up. If I'm right, it's not a loss. If I'm wrong, I just have one more enemy. This time, I robbed 10 million from that so-and-so. I'll give it to you when the money arrives. The two of us are prepared, but we don't have much, just 1 or 2 million. Liang keeps it for emergencies. Daegu, please give your little mistress of Great Britain some money. The girl is most afraid of running out of money when she is alone outside. During the Chinese New Year, she won't you come back. Guan Yun Biao said softly. I'm thinking about taking my son abroad to play during the Chinese New Year. Han Qian immediately stood up and Sul Yang spoke. Don't ask me to shield you during the Chinese New Year. I'm busy during the Chinese New Year too, and I don't know how the news spread. My relatives and Li Li's relatives all thought I was so awesome in Binhai. Hey. After hearing this, Han Qian turned to look at Yates, who tilted his head and frowned at Han Qian. Han Qian scratched his head in embarrassment. Do I have to, hey, during the Chinese New Year? Miss Yet. How was it when you went home for a blind date a few days ago? Mr. Han, you'd better shut up. I want to ask you something serious. My mother asked you if you would come to my house during the Chinese New Year. Let's go in the first month. Do you really believe it? Can I believe what you humming said? I have a headache. I'll take a nap first and bring my legs. Han Qian was lying on Yates' lap, with his hands around the girl's waist. Yates was so angry that his face turned green, and he slapped Han Qian on the back twice. Then she smiled, narrowed her eyes and spoke softly. Sleep, sleep. My dear baby, mommy loves you, mommy likes you. Han Qian ignored her. Yates's face looked a little pale, and she had not rested for 2 days and 1 night. Fell asleep. It was already dark when we returned to Binhai. Han Qian opened his eyes and sat up in a daze, vaguely asking if he was home. Yates lit a cigarette and stuffed it into Han Qian's mouth and whispered. Look where this is. Han Qian opened his eyes and looked at the familiar city bureau. He was a little confused. He turned around and said. You sued me? Don't I just care about you? Yates closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Now. Please. Mr. Han. Get out of the car. Go do business. Surrender yourself. Oh, you'll know as soon as you get off the car. I'm going to report to Nuan and the others about your schedule today. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I haven't had a day off since I became your secretary. Didn't you go on a blind date a while ago? You Tang monk. Yates couldn't stand it anymore and got out of the car first. He took out his mobile phone and called Nuan to report Han Qian's schedule for the day. There was a high probability that he might not be able to go home today. When Nuan asked Han Qian's physical and mental state in a soft voice, Yates answered in 4 words. What a mess. Then came Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu. As for the other little girls, she was too lazy to take care of them. Finally, I called Qian Ling. After reporting on the itinerary, Yates took out his tablet and was about to prepare for Han Qian's work tomorrow. He had just finished writing a little when the tablet, which still had 30% power, suddenly shut down. Yates was furious. Click. The tablet fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. The woman who comes to visit my aunt is very irritable and fragile. This Apple thing doesn't work. If it's cold, turn it off. Then he opened the car door and took out the second tablet computer from the hand button and found Han Qian still sitting in the car. Yates took a deep breath, opened the car door, dragged Han Qian out of the car and pushed him into Li Jinhai's office in the municipal bureau. Yates closed the door and left. Han Qian stepped forward in confusion and took out a box of cigarettes from Li Jinhai's drawer. He sat on the chair of the city bureau leader and looked at Qin Yaezu in the room. There were just the 2 of them in the rather large office. Han Qian smoked a cigarette and found some tea leaves to make himself a cup of tea. He took a small sip and his whole body felt warm. He groaned when he felt comfortable. Then he looked at Qin Yaezu, who was sitting on the sofa smoking one cigarette after another. Han Qian spoke. You can't do that. Although you promoted the person, it has nothing to do with you if he made a mistake. At most, you made a mistake. Qin Yaezu raised his head and glared at Han Qian, frowning. You know nothing. I promoted this person. Now this person has committed a crime and is greedy for money. How do you want me to explain to my father and fellow villagers? Han Qian curled his lips and said. What do you want to explain? What does it have to do with you? If not, you can learn from Baozhang. Did someone behead his own nephew or is it his nephew? You can just handle it yourself, and the punishment will be severe. I really wanted to give you the next one at first. The trick came, but later Cheng Jin said that if I set a trick on you, you would easily collapse, so I became merciful. Qin Yezu lit another cigarette and raised his head to look at Han Qian. Little brat, tell me, are there many corrupt officials in Binhai? Han Qian nodded. Many. It should be said that there are them in every city, but there are two types of corrupt officials. One is greed without thinking about the people, and the other is greed to improve the quality of life of the people. I can't give you the list of these people. If I give you Binhai, I will be paralyzed. I believe you higher UPS know what is going on here better than I do. How many are there in the city bureau? How many are there in the police system? No, I don't know who you have arrested. After saying this, Qin Yezu threw away the cigarette in his hand, stood up, grabbed Han Qian's collar and dragged the unruly man out of the office, and threw him into the police car under Yate's horrified eyes. Then he heard the sound of tires scraping the ground. The car disappeared into the night. In the car, Qin Yezu handed the pistol to Han Qian. It's just the two of us now, the gun is in your hand. You call Feng Lun now, and I'll call King Hu. I'm going to arrest someone tonight. Han Qian frowned and looked at Qin Yezu. Aren't you sick? Arresting people is also the responsibility of King Hu, what does it have to do with you? What? If something happens to the city bureau, you have to arrest someone, I won't do it. Otherwise, I'll help you convince Li Yelai. Who? That ant from King Hu. Did you agree? Don't slander me behind my back when I call. If you do, I will expose the whole city bureau. I, Qin Yezu, keep my word. Do you think this is cheating for personal gain? Get off. What are you doing? I'll beat you first. Han Qian grabbed the car door and put the pistol on his leg. He took out his mobile phone and secretly dialed a number. The call was hung up. Not long after, Feng Lun called back. Before Han Qian could speak, Feng Lun spoke first. Is Sun Jianmin by your side, or Qin Yezu? Just when Han Qian was about to speak, Qin Yezu took the phone and said angrily. I am Qin Yezu, Feng Lun. I don't have time to catch you now, you'd better surrender. Kui Li is not guilty, I will surrender immediately. After saying this, Han Qian grabbed the phone and the police car drew an S shape on the road. Neither of the two people in the car panicked. Han Qian spoke into the phone. To make a long story short, I want to be alone, on your terms. 1 cigarette a month costs more than 10 yuan. I'll give him 1 humming piece a month now. The call was hung up, and not long after that Nuan called. Han Qian took a deep breath, pressed the connect button, and Nuan said softly. Husband, I received an email called Joe Li. I understand, lock the door when you go to bed at night, and don't open it if anyone knocks. Do you hear me? Well, you should also pay attention to your safety. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian looked at Qin Yezu. Can I go home? My wife is at home by herself. Go pick up King Hu. Double monthly pass. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 759. 11 o'clock at night. Cai King Hu and Qin Yezu knocked on Jolie's door. It didn't take long for the guy to be handcuffed and taken away. Han Qian stood under the unit door and watched the man being put into the car. Maybe it's a coincidence. This was the guy who handcuffed Han Qian and Suliang and sent them to prison. The person was sent to the city bureau. When Han Qian was about to go home, Qin Yezu grabbed his collar and dragged him away, saying coldly. Next. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Gone. All credit goes to Cai King Hu. I will write a report later. She can be promoted to a level, which will be of great help to you. I want her to leave the Yeomanman. It's too dangerous. Oh, how many people are squeezing their heads to get in. Han Qian sent Cai Qinghu a text message and asked her if she wanted to move up a level. Cai Qinghu replied with one word. Think. 3 exclamation marks revealed her strong desire, and Han Qian sighed feebly. Call someone and catch the big one. We agreed that the credit will go to Qinghu. I don't understand. This matter has nothing to do with your provincial department. Why are you joining in the fun? Don't ask, who will be arrested next? Give you the name and go catch it yourself. I want to go home and sleep. In the end, Han Qian failed to escape. He followed a large number of prosecutors and actually arrested a big boss. He had a low official position and a special position. He and Luo Shanda belonged to the same yamen. This person was really not what Feng Lun told Han Qian, but Luo Shanda said it accidentally. In the middle of the night, instead of interrogating the 2 disciplinary offenders, several big bosses blocked Han Qian in Li Jinhai's office. It's already 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. No matter how you look at it, it doesn't please your eyes. When Han Qian yawned for the 3rd time, Sun Jianmin slapped his hand on the table and said angrily. You bastard! How much do you know? Do you know that harboring and sheltering is illegal? Han Qian was so frightened that he didn't even finish yawning. He turned to look at Qin Yezu. Seeing this guy acting like he had nothing to do, Han Qian perked up and pointed at Qin Yezu and said angrily. Are you pretending to be mute now? People are asking me questions. Qin Yezu raised his head and said calmly. Comrade Han Qian, you must be lenient if you confess, and strict if you resist. I resist your uncle. Qin Yezu, are you kidding me? No. No. It's not right at all. Han Qian stood up suddenly, covered his head with his hands and walked around, muttering something was wrong. No. No. Just wait and let me think about it. Logically speaking, I shouldn't help you arrest people. I drank too much today and my mind is a little messed up. Some of the big guys in the room were a little uneasy, and Sun Jianmin spoke. Xiao Qian, please say goodbye first. Don't talk. Shut up. My mind is confused and I feel like I'm being plotted against. Han Qian suddenly became a little irritable. Cheng Jin stood up and pressed Han Qian's shoulder. He was about to speak, but Han Qian slapped him away and glared at him. I said. Stop talking. Then Han Qian turned his head and glared at Sun Jianmin, then turned around and left the next second. Qin Yezu stood up and tried to stop him. Han Qian looked at Qin Yezu with cold eyes. The coldness and anger in his eyes made Qin Yezu slightly stunned, and he fell silent. Secretary General Sun said angrily. Han Qian, watch your words. I pay attention to you. Before he finished speaking, Cai Qinghu stepped forward and covered Han Qian's mouth. Han Qian frowned and looked at Cai Qinghu. At this moment, Cheng Jin and Secretary General Li became a little nervous. They were worried that Han Qian, who suddenly went berserk, would do something to Cai Qinghu. Cai Qinghu frowned. Why are you so impulsive? Sit back. Han Qian frowned. Madam, how many of them? Sit back. Han Qian took a deep breath, raised his hand and pinched Cai Qinghu's face to relieve his anger, then turned around and sat on the sofa. The obstruction of several big bosses failed to quiet Han Qian, but Cai Qinghu's angry shouts made Han Qian quiet. Secretary General Li clearly knew that if Qinghu hadn't covered the mouth of this bastard just now, what he said would have come out of his mouth. It's definitely a dirty word. Can Qinghu suppress the furious Han Qian? This surprised Cheng Jin. He had heard Wen Nuan say that she did not dare to speak when Han Qian was angry. Han Qian covered his head with his hands and gritted his teeth. Han Qian gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Yezu, and finally turned to glare at Sun Jianmin. It won't look good if you don't make some achievements when you come to Binhai. You even said that Qin Yezu pretended to be very irritable from the beginning, which made me resist him. Knowing that I am a vengeful and petty person, I had the idea of setting a trap for Qin Yezu. Later, because of Mr. Cheng's reason for this plan failed, so he started to plot against me. Okay. You guys are over 100 years old together, don't count others, but you are working together to plot against me, a young man in my 20s, if not. Yates reminded me that Qin Yezu's character was not what he is now, and I can't even turn around now. Then Han Qian glared at Cheng Jin. You lied to me too. I treat you as my father, but you treat me as a fool. Cheng Jin put his arm around Han Qian's shoulders and said softly. Don't worry. There will never be a next time, absolutely not. What will we do this time? You dug a hole, and I jumped. You caught the prey, right? You have to continue to cooperate in the future, right? King Hu jumped 2 levels in a row. After saying this, Sun Jianmin shook his head and said. No. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Sun Jianmin, frowning. Do you believe I will beat you? After saying this, Cai King Hu and Cheng Jin stepped forward and held Han Qian's shoulders at the same time. They did not doubt that Han Qian was telling the truth. Sun Jianmin looked at it and frowned. Can you communicate well? Did you communicate with me when you were digging a hole for me? Now it's okay. Binhai City once again knows that I know more secrets. Do you know what will happen to me? Han Qian's expression was unkind, and the veins in his clenched fists were stretched. Cai King Hu held Han Qian's hand and comforted him softly, while also sending a message to Yates. Come up here, Han Qian wants to beat Sun Jianmin. Yates downstairs took a deep breath, then turned around and ran upstairs. Does this ancestor not know who Sun Jianmin is? He hurried upstairs and opened the door. What he saw was that Han Qian stood up and pointed at Sun Jianmin and Qin Yezu and cursed. You two humming arrested someone, took the credit and left. How many humming times have I been assassinated and you don't know how many times? It finally stopped, and now it's starting again? Is what you did called human affairs? Don't keep talking about King Hu's promotion. Tell me, I humming didn't want King Hu to be the prosecutor for a long time. You don't feel sorry for me, I feel sorry for my wife. Even if you don't agree to be promoted to 2 levels. I beg you. Please don't agree. Aren't there still 4 people on the run outside now? You will never get any information from me in your life. Arrest me? Come on, put the handcuffs on me. Qin Yezu frowned and said softly. Don't be so excited. It's impossible for Xiaohu to upgrade 2 levels in a row. She can only upgrade 1 level, and then find an opportunity to mention it again in a year and a half. Just when Han Qian was about to agree, Sun Jianmin spoke. No. Xiaohu is not married now and is too young to mention it. Han Qian gritted his teeth and looked at Sun Jianmin. You're the only one here to stir up trouble, aren't you? Everyone panicked at this scene. Yates rushed forward and stood in front of Sun Jianmin. Han Qian's kick left little strength. Yates was kicked back a few steps and almost knocked Sun Jianmin down. This kick stunned everyone. Han Qian's eyes widened, and then he stepped forward to help Yates, whose face was full of pain, and raised his head to glare at Sun Jianmin. Just wait, we'll talk about this when I wake up, old man. Drive me to the hospital. After finishing his words, Qin Yezu spoke. I send you. Yates looked pale, and Han Qian hugged the girl and ran downstairs. Something's wrong. There was something wrong with Yates's health. When Cai King Hu was about to go downstairs, Secretary General Sun held her hand and frowned. Why are you following me to join in the fun? King Hu, come back with me. I suspect that Han Qian has violent tendencies. Cai King Hu struggled eagerly. Auntie. He is not violent, he is very violent. Oh. With Han Qian's petty mind, we girls have been wronged, he can poke a hole in the sky, how many of you? Listen to me, let's go to the hospital together now, Han Qian has a docile personality, and he can do whatever he wants to say, but he's afraid of choking. What kind of monster can he make? Cai Qinghu took a deep breath and whispered. At the very least, he can stop the construction of Longhui for a year and a half, and then lay off tens of thousands of people in Binhai City. Don't worry. Even if I ride on Han Qian's head and beat him, he won't be able to do anything to me. Yes, Auntie. I'll go over to comfort you first, it's really big. After leaving the house, Cai Qinghu called Nuan Nuan. Sister-in-law, please stop sleeping. Han Qian almost beat Sun Zhenmin, and now he accidentally injured Yates and sent him to the hospital. What the hell? Did he beat Yates? It's over. The matter is serious. He also drank. Oh my god. I'm going over now. Don't tell Yan Qingqing, if Han Qian dares to kill someone, she will hand him the knife. Give me a vote for counting. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 760. I really don't know what's going on with you men. This girl's mental state is already very poor. She doesn't have enough rest and is already very tired during her menstrual period. She also has to stay up late and has a fever. What else can you do to her at this time? Get rid of it? Are you a man? In the lobby of the city hospital, a new female doctor pointed at Han Qian's nose and scolded him. Han Qian lowered his head and obeyed, not even daring to take a breath. Looking at the angry face of the female doctor, Han Qian lowered his head and whispered. How is she doing now? The female doctor frowned. Now that I know it hurts. What were you thinking when you did it? From the color ultrasound, it doesn't have any impact, but you need to observe it for 2 days to see if there are any signs of blood in the urine after the menstrual period. What did she eat today? Han Qian scratched his head and frowned. It seems like I haven't eaten anything. The female doctor's face became even colder and she said coldly. I really don't know how someone like you can have a girlfriend. Go ahead and pay the money. I'm too lazy to say another word to you. Han Qian turned to look at Qin Yezu who was standing aside and said angrily. Didn't you hear? Pay the money. The female doctor frowned after saying this. What do you shout in the hospital? Yes, yes, you are saying, can I go in and see her now? The female doctor snorted and ignored Han Qian. At this time, Cai Qinghu and Wen Wen hurried over. Wen Wen ignored Han Qian and opened the door and walked into the ward. Cai Qinghu pulled the female doctor and asked if it was serious. The female doctor stared at Han Qian coldly and said calmly. Dysmenorrhea, fever, lack of rest, and a gastroenterologist will come over soon. How could there be such a violent man with bruises on his lower abdomen and hit a girl so hard? What is the future of a man who beats a woman? Cai Qinghu smiled awkwardly. At this time, Qin Yezu came back after paying the money. Hearing what the doctor said, he smiled. No. What's the use of a man who beats a woman? Han Qian turned to look at Qin Yezu. He could accept whatever the doctor scolded him. After all, they were saving lives and healing the wounded, but what are you, an old man, saying here? Han Qian frowned. Do you believe I'm going to beat you up here? When the words came out, the faces of the doctors and nurses turned ugly. This man was indeed violent, Qin Yezu chuckled. Try. Seeing that the two people were about to start a fight, Cai Qinghu took Han Qian's hand and whispered. Mr. Sir, can you just calm down for a while? After finishing his words, Cai Qinghu looked at Qin Yezu and said helplessly. Ting Qin, please stop irritating him and let's go. Go in and see Yates. I just remembered that Yates didn't eat anything at the party last night. We went to interrogate Han Qian together early the next morning. This I haven't eaten in 2 days, my mother feels distressed hearing that. Han Qian glared at Qin Yezu, who laughed and didn't take it to heart at all. He was in a good mood now and didn't care about this unruly man. Walking into the ward, he looked at Yates lying beside the bed, sipping yogurt. Han Qian sat beside the bed with his head lowered. He had never known the warmth of serving others. He sat next to Yates and asked if he was hungry and what was wrong with him. Yates shook his head and said softly, "I'm just a little tired and have a stomachache. It has nothing to do with Mr. Han. It's my own health." Han Qian took a deep breath, turned his head to look at Qin Yaezu, and said angrily, "If you hadn't called her, wouldn't this have happened tonight?" Qin Yaezu said softly, "I didn't tell her not to go home. Is this what the hell are you saying? Go, get out of here, I don't want to see you for a minute." As soon as he finished speaking, the ward door was pushed open, and Cheng Jin and others came over. Seeing Sun Jianmin, Han Qian stood up and rolled up his sleeves and walked towards the old man. Seeing this, Wen Nuan quickly stood up and strangled Han Qian's neck from behind. Han Qian pointed at Sun Jianmin and said angrily, "You can't bear the big man's kick to you. Huh? Or are you saying that I kicked you unjustly?" Cai Qinghu trotted forward and pushed Han Qian's chest, softly comforting him, and said with a warm frown, "Han Qian, calm down." Han Qian frowned and said angrily, "I'm so calm. If he doesn't mess with me, how can I hurt Yates? I really want to kick you to death, Sun Jianmin, I know you have great power. Come on, use your power to mess with me, I am damn, I'm not even afraid of Feng Lun, not even death. If I'm afraid of you, I, Han Qian, will be a humming bitch." Cheng Jin stepped forward and frowned. "Xiao Qian, this is a misunderstanding. You need to calm down first. Let's sit down and talk slowly. Deputy Sun is not young anymore. If you kick me," Han Qian said angrily, "it's not okay for him to be beaten, but it's okay for others to be beaten." After finishing his words, Niu Qiudong said angrily, "Han Qian, watch your words. I noticed you scolded me. Niu Qiudong and we haven't settled the accounts yet. Do you want to settle the accounts tonight? Okay. Then let's start settling the accounts now. I will ask Lu Guangming to stop all sponsorship of sanitation. Let all shopping malls close their doors for 2 months. The largest shopping malls in Binhai City have more than 20,000 employees, so they all should be laid off and go home." After saying this, Han Qian took out his hand, looked at the number on Han Qian's mobile phone, and Nuan screamed and snatched the phone away. "Why are you calling Yan Qingqing? Han Qian, please calm down. As long as the mall is closed for half a month, employees working in the mall will have financial problems, such as mortgage loans, car loans, and children's tuition fees. Don't be impulsive." "Yes, sir, this will affect several companies. If someone takes the opportunity to show up at this time, it will be bad for everyone. You should calm down first." Han Qian put down his cell phone, took a deep breath and sat on the edge of the hospital bed. Wen Nuan and Cai Qinghu also breathed a sigh of relief. At the moment when the two girls relaxed, Han Qian climbed over the hospital bed and rushed towards Sun Jianmin. "Madman. A complete lunatic. The reason why Lu Shenga is unwilling to play dirty tricks with Han Qian now is because this guy is like a mad dog. He drives him crazy, and he doesn't care about heaven and earth." Sun Jianmin's face turned livid. Niu Qiudong stepped forward and stood in front of Sun Jianmin. Han Qian didn't take it and punched Niu Qiudong on the shoulder. The next second, Han Qian was pushed to the ground by Cheng Jin and Qin Yaezu. The chaos in the room attracted the attention of the doctors and nurses outside. The female doctor and the nurse were stunned when they walked into the ward. Several big bosses from the city and province stood in the ward with ugly faces. The one with violent tendencies, the man, was pushed to the ground. Just as she was about to speak, Han Qian said angrily, Sun Jinmin, let me ask you, is it okay to skip 2 levels in Qinghu? If you say no, then we are not done with this matter. I don't mind risking my humming life. Sun Jinmin has never been scolded by anyone in his life. He was scolded countless times today. Niu Qiudong covered his shoulders and glared at Han Qian and said angrily. Han Qian, calm down first. Why can Qinghu jump 2 levels? Han Qian shook off Qin Yaozu and Cheng Jin, stood up and patted the dust on his body, looked at Niu Qiudong coldly and said coldly. If I send you to prison, can Qinghu skip 2 levels? Sun Jinmin, let me ask you, if I send Niu Qiudong to prison, can Qinghu skip 2 levels? She is a prosecutor now, right? The procuratorate skips 2 levels in a row. What position? Niu Qiudong's expression turned extremely ugly. At this time, Han Qian said again. I'll send all the Binhai officials in. How many levels can Qinghu jump to? When the words came out, everyone present was stunned. Secretary General Li, who had been silent until now, spoke. Xiao Qian. Calm down. Qinghu is young now. Even if she is moved to the position you want, she won't be able to do it safely, and there will be people behind her back. Can I cut out all their humming tongues? Xiao Qian. Listen to my aunt. Qinghu will be promoted to the 2nd level of senior prosecutor, or he will be transferred to Binhai as deputy director. Han Qian frowned. Aunt Li, isn't it decentralized after being transferred from the province to the city? And I don't want Qinghu to come to this big dying vat in Binhai. After finishing his words, Han Qian turned to look at Cai Qinghu, tilted his head and said softly. What do you mean, a 2nd level senior prosecutor? Who are you now? When Han Qian asked this question, everyone was stunned. Qin Yaozu put his hands on Han Qian's shoulders and asked doubtfully. You bastard, don't tell me that you don't even know the position and are asking us for it. Han Qian turned around and frowned. I'm not from the Yamanmen, and I didn't go to school. Where do I know where to go? Now Qinghu agrees, let's get over this matter, and then we'll talk about Miss Yes beating. Sun Jinmin, you let me give you a kick, and we will still be good friends having dinner together tomorrow. Sun Jinmin, who had been silent until now, spoke. Qinghu jumps to the 2nd level senior prosecutor, I promise you. But it is impossible to transfer her position before she is 30 years old. If you catch Feng Lun, I can write a report and discuss it with the leaders of the procuratorate. This matter is settled. It's over, I shouldn't have come to Binhai to mess with you, this little lunatic. Han Qian took a deep breath, turned around and looked at Sun Jinmin, and then bowed at 90 degrees. Thank you, Uncle Sun. You will be my uncle from now on. What about Yates? Sun Jinmin said angrily. You kicked Yates, what does that have to do with me? Han Qian. Don't kick him in the nose. Han Qian said calmly. Yates has a project, can the province support it? Sun Jinmin pointed at Niu Qiudong and said coldly. You send him in, I can consider it. Why don't there be a few young talents among the young people in Binhai who can step on you? If there are. Even if I break the rules, I will help them deal with you, you bastard. Yates's medical treatment, the fee will be charged to the Yamen gate, and I will stay in Binhai for another 2 days. After saying that, he turned around and went out. When he reached the door, he stopped and turned around to look at Cheng Jin. Cheng Jin, Niu Qiudong, you two go back and write a self-examination. Deliver it to me at dawn. There are corrupt officials in Binhai, and you two can't escape your responsibility. Qin Yaozu, are you leaving? Qin Yaozu chuckled. If you don't leave, I promise Han Qian to help him deal with Secretary General Li. Secretary General Li glared at Qin Yaozu, and then whispered to Han Qian. Come out and let's talk. Don't go. Or double the monthly pass. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 761. Han Qian didn't give any face to Secretary General Licai King, who sat by the bed and looked at Yates, completely unconcerned about the matter. Just as Secretary General Li was about to speak, Qin Yezu spoke first. "You bastard, come out first. I have something to ask you. Don't go." As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Yezu held him under his arm and dragged him out of the ward. Secretary General Li glanced at Nuan and said softly, "Then let's talk." When Nuan smiled naively, "I'm not very good at talking, and I don't know how to chat with the elders in Qinghu. If we can't tell each other about Han Qian, why don't you talk to my mother? She is very talkative." At this time, Cai Qinghu stood up and pushed Secretary General Li's shoulders, saying softly, "Aunt, you go back to rest first, or go to Han Qian. Don't embarrass Wen Nuan. Leave Han Qian aside. We have a very good relationship with Wen and we are very close. I like Wen very much. Auntie, please rest early." Secretary General Li was pushed away by Cai Qinghu, and he smiled warmly as he closed the door. "We have a good relationship." Cai Qinghu shrugged and said calmly, "When Han Qian and I get married, I will let you be my bridesmaid." Nuan sat on the edge of the bed, holding his chin with one hand, looking at Cai Qinghu playfully, and smiled. "Then you don't have this chance in this life. Han Qian can only choose to remarry instead of getting married, Qinghu. I know that Han Qian loves you, is kind to you, and even says that he is more dependent on any woman. Bigger than me, but the one who gets remarried can only be warm." Cai Qinghu said calmly, "Because you have nothing to rely on. Han Qian just got 50 million in my hand today, why didn't I find you? I will give you 100 million now to help him pay back." Before he finished speaking, Wen Nuan's face instantly darkened. Cai Qinghu knew that he had said the wrong thing, lowered his head and whispered, "Stop arguing. We'll keep arguing when Yates gets better. My husband is really serious. How can he be so bossy? Yates, too. You just do whatever he asks you to do. Why are you like that, Aunt G? Of." Yates smiled bitterly and said it was an occupational disease. Outside the ward, the female doctor became very polite to Han Qian. She didn't know who this young man was at first. When she went back to the office and asked the nurse, she found out that this man was called Han Qian. He was considered a VIP customer in the hospital. He could get it after a year. He was seriously injured and hospitalized several times. Qin Yezu and Han Qian were sitting in the fire escape smoking cigarettes. Lao Qin asked Han Qian if he knew something about Niuqiudong. Han Qian said that it was all speculation and there was no evidence at all. He also told Qin Yezu not to ask anything, as he would not know anything about Niuqiudong in a short time. "I'll talk about it again. If the box is emptied, the result is to be kicked aside. These days, Han Qian doesn't trust anyone except his relatives. If there is no use for you on that day, there will probably be too many people looking for excuses to leave. The sky outside is getting brighter. It's snowing again in Binhai. There seemed to be a lot more snow this year than in previous years." Han Qian stood up and stretched. "Old Qin. This is the cooperation between the two of us. When the snowflakes fall to the ground and melt, the cooperation between the two of us will be terminated. I can play with people from Binhai City without worries. Playing with you is too tiring." After saying that, he stood up and returned to the ward. He saw that Yates was on the phone. Han Qian did not interrupt and went downstairs to buy breakfast. Walking out of the main entrance of the hospital, Han Qian shivered because of the cold wind. It was getting colder and colder, and he was wearing less and less clothes. His mother and old man seemed to be having fun outside. A recent phone call none, and Han Qian didn't dare to take the initiative to call and ask, for fear of asking what happened. Looking at the commuters waiting for the bus at the bus stop early in the morning, Han Qian thought back to himself as if he had never experienced such a life. It's only 6 o'clock. I sigh softly. Young people still have to work hard and make money. Although it is easy to settle for the status quo, when you see those who enjoy life, you will still envy them. Once you get married, it is too late. Thinking of marriage, Han Qian had a headache. In the ward, Yates hung up the phone in his hand and spoke slightly doubtfully. Yang Jianfeng's sister, I'm not sure what she meant by calling her. Nuan frowned. What did she say on the phone? She said she would let me go there to have a meal with her and go shopping when I have time. Yates had confusion on his face, and Nuan curled his lips and said disdainfully. Then I should be begging you or Han Qian for something, just like Wei Tianquan's daughter-in-law Zhao Shanying. At that time, she begged Han Qian to go shopping with me every day. In my opinion, you'd better just ignore it. It's useless. On the contrary, it will add trouble to Han Qian. Cai King Hu echoed from the side. Nuan is right. That Yao Guangda is not a good person. You should stay away from them. My husband's temper will cause trouble. Oh my God, I will beat Sun Zhenmin no matter what he says today. I don't know him. What's going on in my head? He's the second in command in the province. Now I'm scared. Nuan sighed. I guess he'll be able to calm down a little after he's 30. Cai King Hu shook his head and said softly. It has nothing to do with age. I guess it will be after I become a father. After the words came out, Yates, who was lying on the hospital bed, spoke. Actually, Mr. Han is doing well. At least the city and the province now know about his crazy character. If you want to provoke him, you should consider it. Mr. Wen, I'm a little hungry. I'll give Han Qian a call. I'm a little hungry too. King Hu, can you call Yao Guangda and give it a try? I always feel that this woman has no good intentions. Yesterday Yates told me that they were going to Jingguan Yunbiao and Suliang were also there when we were in the West, so logically speaking, she shouldn't have contacted Yates. When Nuan frowned and analyzed the call, Cai King Hu frowned. Are you saying that old guy Yao Guangda has a crush on Yates? Yates shivered on the bed and frowned. I'm suddenly not hungry anymore. It's so disgusting. While chatting, Han Qian came back with breakfast and asked softly what the girls were talking about. When Nuan ignored Han Qian and Cai King Hu took the breakfast. Han Qian had no appetite and said softly that he might need to find a place to sleep during the day. If the lake is here, he will go and see Su Hongchang, Cai King Hu said with a frown. I should have some business later, so I may not be able to stay here with Yates. Where's Nuan? Nuan mumbled while eating the buns. UN %#, UN %#, UN #@ Cai King Hu frowned and Yates said softly. Dr. Wen said he has to go to the company in a while, but he doesn't have time. Just go and do your work. I'll call Si Quan later. She's very free every day. Han Qian nodded. That's okay. Does your stomach still hurt? Why didn't you tell me, Auntie? After saying this, Yates tilted his head and looked at Han Qian, frowning. I also have to report this kind of thing to you. After saying this, Han Qian was speechless for a while. At this time, the doctors from the hospital came over, greeted Han Qian and others with a smile, checked Yates's body and told Han Qian that he could be discharged after a day of rest and observation, but he must pay attention to your diet and rest. If you are busy, you can find a nanny to take care of you. Your body needs to be recuperated. When Han Qian went downstairs and walked out of the hospital, he saw Secretary General Li standing in the distance. Take a deep breath. It's a blessing, not a curse. It's a curse that you can't avoid. Let's go. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 762. In the car, Han Qian softly sighed that it was great to have money. Secretary General Li frowned and said that her family's conditions were not as good as King Hu's, but they were not too poor, and there was no need for Han Qian to be so weird. Han Qian said with a smile. If Aunt Li has anything to say, just say it directly. There is no need for us to beat around the bush. That's okay. From what happened today, I can see that you are really good to King Hu and it comes from the bottom of your heart. But with your temper and personality, I dare not leave King Hu to you. After listening to Secretary Li's words, Han Qian turned around and smiled. You're just not satisfied with me, that's okay. I'm not satisfied with myself either. Do you want King Hu to leave me, or do you want me to leave King Hu? Secretary General Li said softly. I can't do either of these two, and I don't find any desire in you. You act very indifferent to money, power, and sex. I just express my dissatisfaction. I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me about your plans for the future. Future? Han Qian sneered and said again. I don't know if I have a future. The future is just fantasy and things that haven't happened. I'm satisfied that I can stabilize the situation now. Secretary General Li handed Han Qian a cigarette and asked softly. Have you ever thought about Xiaohu's life with you? Are you going to maintain this relationship forever? Or are you choosing among several girls? Han Qian never refused to accept the cigarettes offered to him, so he lit them and sighed. Auntie. It's not that you don't like me, I also have a headache. It's an honor for King Hu to like me, but I really can't bear to make a decision. I admit that I am a scumbag. You said that I don't take the initiative or refuse. It makes sense. I have never been in love. I don't know how to say to a girl, you go away, I don't like you, don't contact you again. I can't say this to King Hu or Wen Nuan. I can only try my best to be good to her and give them what I think is the best and most precious. Maybe one day they will figure it out and see clearly that I, Han Qian, have nothing, no money, no house, no car, no education and no quality. Uneducated. Secretary General Li also lit a cigarette and sighed. Aren't you afraid that they will fall deeper into trouble? I'm afraid, but what should I do, Aunt? I know you regard King Hu as your treasure, and I also regard her as my treasure. Before you came to Binhai, I didn't know she was still taken care of by you. I always thought she was alone. I protect her, love her, and prevent her from being wronged or hurt. King Hu is a treasure in your heart, and other girls are also treasures in the eyes of their parents. How can you ask me to hurt them? The only way if I die, they may be free. Han Qian said what was on his mind, and Secretary General Li sighed. How far has it gone between you and Qing Hu? Have you gone to bed? No. Well, I will go back and think about this matter. I will also do some ideological work on King Hu. If possible, I will transfer her back to the province. Maybe time can dilute everything. You are the elder, you have the final say. After saying this, Han Qian got out of the car and used a lot of force to close the door to express his inner dissatisfaction and irritability. No driving. After walking not far, Secretary Li's BMW stopped beside him and the window rolled down. Wherever you go, I'll take you there. Han Qian shook his head. No, I'm afraid of quarreling with you, so I took a taxi to see my only subordinate. He is also in the hospital because of Feng Lun. After saying this, Han Qian stopped the taxi and left, and Secretary General Li drove back to the city government office. Niu Qiudong has gone back to write a report. Cheng Jin, who originally wanted to go home and rest, returned to the Yamen gate because of the live broadcast of online celebrities selling goods. Something happened. When selling agricultural products in the autumn, some merchants sold substandard goods, causing the internet celebrities to he was exposed on the internet and fell. This incident made a big fuss. The internet celebrity sat on the floor of Cheng Jin's office and cried loudly. A young man in his 20s and 70s cried like a tearful man. He may be banned this time and be punished hugely. Amount. Cheng Jin and Sun Jinmin were both standing in the office. Cheng Jin frowned. Okay, don't cry now. I've asked the permanent secretary to contact the other party. You kid is really careless. Why didn't you check it out? The internet celebrity sat on the ground and choked with grievance. Dad. My father, the mayor. As a citizen of Binhai, how dare I not check? I broadcast these potatoes in the live broadcast room at the top of my lungs for 20 hours a day, just to show them to the farmers in our city. We want to increase our income, and I want to take a penny of profit out of it. I was hit by a car as soon as I went out. I asked my two little brothers to check it 5 or 6 times, and the ones they got back every time were the best. But after people received the goods, they sprouted, and now they come to the live broadcast room to question me. The farmer uncle said that there was a problem with my logistics, and he asked me to pay for it. Cheng Jin suddenly had a headache, turned to look at Sun Jinmin, and frowned. Whose fault are you talking about now? Ordinary people can't afford to pay for selling potatoes. You want this kid to pay for it? Isn't this forcing a good person to become evil? Sun Jinmin also frowned and said in a deep voice. You ask how things are going in Changde. Cheng Jin took out his cell phone and called to ask. The answer he got gave him an even more headache. The potato seller was an old couple. He heard that the government office wanted to ask them to pay compensation, hang himself, and bang his head. So he knelt in front of Changde. Keep kowtowing, or your life will be lost here, without saying a word about potatoes. And after the inspection in Changde, some problems were discovered. These people are not just jati. What to do? Cheng Jin squatted on the ground helplessly, covering his head with his hands and gritting his teeth. How can this be like this? How can you deceive your own people by helping them make money and get rich? I will make up for the money. I will make up for the borrowed amount by myself, Cheng Jin. Sun Jinmin frowned. Where did you get so much money? I checked the bank cards of everyone in your family, and the total is less than 200,000 yuan. Are you going to pay for these tens of thousands of kilograms of agricultural products with your life? Borrowing money, what can I do? I think this child was thrown in. Now it's in court, it's because he sold fake goods, less than 3 years old. I called Han Qian to borrow money. He called Han Qian, but no one answered. Cheng Jin closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When Cheng Jin had a headache, Qian Wan opened the door and walked in. He walked up to the internet celebrity who was sitting on the ground crying. Just a burst of punches, kicks, and slaps. The internet celebrity was stunned and said grumpily. Princess, What the hell? Are you a pig? Did you tell my brother about this? If he found out, he would curse him to death, do you believe it? How much will the platform fine you? 600,000. I can get this money to sell the house, but what should I do if the live broadcast room returns the goods? This time, these potatoes Back it off, back off. I'll pay you how much it will cost, look at your worthless energy. I asked you to sell goods, how can I still trouble you if something goes wrong? You're a piece of trash, you won't collect the potatoes first, and then you package them for sale. Then you won't make a profit. I'm not thinking. What the hell are you thinking about? I ask someone to drive my vest to your live broadcast room. Go back and make a statement to explain the matter clearly. I will call you the money later. As for the ban, I will set up an internet celebrity job tomorrow. Room, you can be behind the scenes, rolling, rolling, rolling. The internet celebrity thanked the little princess with tears in her eyes, then turned around and went back to prepare the return. After the internet celebrity left, Qianwan glanced at Cheng Jin, closed her eyes and bent down to salute. Sorry. Cheng Jin took a deep breath and said softly. This matter was neglected by our yeomanman. I will call a few village cotters to explain this matter to you later. Let me introduce to you, Sun Jinmin, the second in command of the province. This is Qianwan. It was she who made these internet celebrities come to Binhai to do online sales. Sun Jinmin nodded and said solemnly. Xiao Qianer can't let Xiao Qianer suffer. It's related to Binhai's reputation. Let Niu Qiudong stop resting and come here to deal with these matters. Xiao Qianer, who is the brother you are talking about? If your surname is Qian, Qian, who are you, Ling? My aunt. Your brother Qian Huan? Isn't it already, Han Qian is your brother? Yes. My dear brother, do you know my brother? My brother is a very nice person. Sun Jinmin didn't know how to evaluate Han Qian. At this moment, the door of the office was pushed open. Secretary General Sun found Sun Jinmin and Cheng Jin angrily and spoke. I want to transfer my little lake back to the province. It can no longer be in Binhai. This bastard Han Qian is just. My sister-in-law is going back to the province. Qianwan asked innocently and cutely, and Secretary General Sun frowned. Sister-in-law? You call King Hu's sister-in-law? Are you Han Qian's sister? Qianwan Han smiled. Yeah. Han Qian is my brother. If my sister-in-law leaves Binhai, my brother seems to be more relaxed. At least he won't be arresting corrupt officials, and he doesn't have to arrest Feng Lun. When will my sister-in-law return to the province? When the words came out, Sun Jinmin took over. Xiaohu can't go back to the province, so just stay in Binhai city. If that doesn't work, I'll report and ask Xiaohu to be transferred to the Binhai Procuratorate as director. Feng Lun must be arrested, and corrupt officials must not be let go. As soon as he finished speaking, Cheng Jin's cell phone rang. Han Qian called and asked what happened just now. Cheng Jin told the story, and then Han Qian's roar came from the phone. Are you the people who work hard at your yamen door? All of you are sitting in the office with big bellies. If something goes wrong, my sister will solve it. Damn it! Isn't it going to snow today? Call me all the people sitting in the office at the yamen door. Go. Go to the countryside. I can't freeze them to death. Cheng Jin closed his eyes and sighed. You're not going to sleep. Go to sleep. My sister is at a disadvantage, but I still want to sleep. After hanging up the phone, Qianwan smiled. My brother is fine. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 763. Now the people at the Yamen gate don't know how to express it. Is it a coincidence that they were restrained by Han Qian? Anyway, Han Qian has no problem in controlling the Yamen gate now. The main problem is really on their side. When dealing with the common people, they were superior, but when facing Han Qian, they really didn't dare to let go of anything. Although they didn't have any leverage against them, if it was against their boss, the boss would also deal with them in order to show his kindness. And the relationship between Han Qian and Cheng Jin is very, very good, and one more thing. The big bosses from the province were also at the Yamen gate. Several government offices and the village have received notifications. Even if Han Qian doesn't investigate, Cheng Jin will investigate the matter. When Han Qian came over in the car, he had 2 dark circles under his eyes and was wearing a shabby military coat. He opened the car window and looked at Qianwan and Cheng Jin to get in the car. Qianwan did not get in the car. Sun Jianmin and Cheng Jin sat in the car. Into the back seat of this little BMW. Han Qian's eyes were all bloodshot. He turned around and handed them cigarettes, saying softly, "I don't understand the working system of your Yamanmen, but I can say with certainty that someone must be lazy. How much compensation will my sister have to pay inside and outside here?" Cheng Jin shook his head. "I don't know what's going on here. The exact amount of compensation depends on the sales volume." Han Qian curled his lips, looked at Sun Jianmin and said softly, "Uncle Sun, tell me. In this icy and snowy day, ordinary people are busy delivering goods, and internet celebrities are selling goods with golden voices and never sleep. As a result, the people at your yamen door do nothing, but instead have a reputation of benefiting the ordinary people. Isn't it a little ugly to say this?" Sun Jianmin said softly. "You kid, if you have anything to say, just say it. Maybe they enjoy a too comfortable life at the yamen gate. Let's go to the countryside and check boxes one by one. This will also teach them a lesson, so as not to find scapegoats when something goes wrong. What's wrong with internet celebrities? Just watching thieves get rich. Come on, you didn't see the thief being beaten, did you? What about market management? The Ministry of Agriculture should go there and experience life, or I won't allow any internet celebrity to come to Binhai to sell goods in the future." Sun Jianmin slapped Han Qian and said angrily, "Don't act like a gangster. I know this better than you. Have you prepared gloves for me when driving to the countryside? Wear some ass gloves." Got another slap. After driving for more than an hour and walking on the rugged and winding mountain road, Han Qian was stunned as he looked at the increasingly familiar scenery. "Isn't it coming to my house soon?" Looking at the familiar entrance of the township government office, Han Qian got out of the car and scratched his head in embarrassment. "Don't say it's my fault that happened here." Cheng Jin chuckled. "You're right, it's about these dozen villages." A village leader came over to show his kindness, and Sun Jianmin frowned and said coldly, "Looking at you like this, you don't look like a good person. I'll find someone to check you out later. Didn't you know that the countryside sent out tens of thousands of kilograms of sprouted potatoes? Or do you think you're blind? It doesn't look like you are. Something." Sun Jianmin's words were extremely difficult to hear, which also showed his mood at this time. Under the leadership of the village leaders, everyone arrived at the village where the incident occurred. Sun Jianmin didn't waste any time and directed the Hua sitting in the office to start unpacking and inspecting. If they found out there was something wrong with the family's goods, they would punish the village cotters and township cotters. A dozen or so little leaders who were usually pampered were full of resistance. The village cotters took Sun Jianmin, Cheng Jin, and others to check other things in the village. After being busy for about an hour, a group of people heard something unusual when they returned to the warehouse. "Nice words, I saw some pictures I didn't want to see." Several female cotters felt sorry for their newly done manicures. They stood aside and directed the villagers to unpack the boxes. They were holding potatoes with disgust on their faces. Sun Jianmin took a deep breath and walked up to pat one of the women. "Shoulders. You write a resignation report and give it to Cheng Jin tomorrow. I'll sign it and pack it up and go home." This sentence made the female cotter dumbfounded, and then she stepped forward and started unpacking the boxes. She didn't care about her fingernails getting damaged or whether they were buried cleanly. Sun Jianmin inspected all the way, and several village cotters also stepped forward to help. Even Cheng Jin was not free. There were only a few people sitting on the box watching the excitement. Wan Fang, Qian Wan, Secretary General Li who sent Han Qian here, and the rest were checking in the warehouse. Han Qian, wrapped in his military coat, looked at the sweating staff at the yamen gate and grinned. "Work harder. If you behave well, you can even stay for a meal of cabbage stewed with sprouted potatoes for lunch." As soon as he finished speaking, Someone shouted that there was something wrong with the examination. It was a woman in her 30s, she shouted. Mayor Chang, I checked 31 boxes, and basically every box contained 1/3 of the potatoes that were damaged, shrunk, or sprouted. Chang Jin straightened up and pointed at the village cotters and cursed. You're done. The village cotter sat down on the ground with a bang. There was no blood on his face. The inspection was not completed until noon. Looking at the 2,000 pieces of tattered vegetables, Chang Jin's face turned ugly. Sun Jinmin pointed at Chang Jin's nose. Said angrily. Is this what you do in online sales? Are you just fooling others with crappy things? Chang Jin, if you don't want to do this anymore, just say so. How many people are waiting for you to be laid off? It seems that I can't leave Binhai in a hurry this time. Binhai's problem is simply too big. When leaving the village, Sun Jinmin pointed his nose at the leaders of the village and township and cursed them. He was really swearing. This is just now. When Sun Jinmin leaves, Chang Jin and Niu Qiudong will continue to settle accounts with them. Han Qian walked beside Sun Jinmin with a cigarette in his mouth and chuckled. They have already started checking. Do you want to check Binhai's seafood products? They are also sold online recently. Especially the seafood products of Changxiang Group are the most sold in Binhai. Just in case. Sun Jinmin turned to look at Han Qian and frowned. I used you as a gun once, and you insist on changing it back. Just don't move and let me kick you. Han Qian threw away the cigarette in his mouth, took off his military coat and handed it to Qianwan, patted his chest and said loudly. Come. Just when Sun Jinmin was about to take action, Chang Jin, who was full of anger, put his foot on Han Qian's butt. Then everyone got in the car. Han Qian picked up the half-thrown cigarette and lay in the snowdrift, smoking and looking at the sky. Qianwan walked forward and squatted next to Han Qian, speaking softly. Brother, are we cheating Chang Jin by doing this? I feel a little sorry. Han Qian stretched out his hand to ruffle Daqian'er's hair and smiled. Sister. Don't be too kind. Do you think Chang Jin doesn't know that I included him in the plan this time? If Sun Jinmin leaves and lets internet celebrities break the news, it will not cause any harm to Niu Qiudong. Taking advantage of Lin Men's front, soon I was interviewed and asked Sun Jinmin to go over and check it out. The rumors started blowing in the cold wind and it was good for me. It's just a shame for this young man named Tiger. Don't let others suffer. Qianwan nodded, reached out and took Han Qian's arm and said. Go back and rest. I heard that you haven't slept for more than 10 hours. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath, then stood up and smiled at Qianwan. Okay. I've had a rest. I'll take you to enjoy the fun. Wan Fang and Qianwan didn't know how to persuade Han Qian. Watching Han Qian walk towards the driver's seat of the GTR, Qianwan trotted forward and stuffed Han Qian into the passenger seat, and then drove to chase Sun Jinmin and the others. Han Qian spoke softly. Your sister-in-law may have to go back to the province, hey. Qianwan said softly. Think about it. It's not that far. It's only a 3-hour drive. When there was no response, Qianwan said softly. Elder brother. Fell asleep. He was still chatting 1 second, and began to breathe evenly the next. Qianwan slowed down the car, holding the steering wheel with both hands and driving seriously. After more than an hour's drive, the motorcade at the Yamanmen went straight to the sea under the name of Changxiang Group Product Processing Factory. After receiving the news, the Lin family father and son rushed to the factory in a hurry. The two groups arrived at the factory gate together. Lin Ment, wearing a black woolen windbreaker, got out of the car with a cane and shouted to Sun Jinmin and others. Deputy Sun, Secretary General Li, Secretary Niu, Mayor Chang, why did the wind bring you here today? Sun Jinmin glanced at Lin Ment and ignored him, and Niu Qiudong smiled. Deputy Sun is conducting a random inspection of Binhai Enterprises. Deputy Sun is not in a very good mood right now. You'd better be fine. Secretary General Lee frowned after saying this. Secretary Niu, what you said is a bit confidential. Niu Qiudong was busy shutting up. Lin Mend, who already knew what was going on, winked at the factory director, then smiled and invited Sun Jianmin and others to come in for a visit. He led the way. After walking for more than 10 steps, he found this big boss. There was no intention of entering the factory, and Lin Mend was slightly confused. At this time, a BMW and a GTR came from a distance and stopped at the entrance of the factory. Glory Qianwan? Lin Zongheng frowned. He had a bad feeling. When he saw Han Qian staggering out of the GTR, his face turned dark. Before he could think more, Sun Jianmin spoke. Come on, bastard. Whoever is in here, go to my car and get him a can of Red Bull. Simple words are no longer simple in the ears of everyone present. Deputy Governor Sun and dozens of people are standing in this icy and snowy sky, just waiting for Han Qian? Gave this guy a can of Red Bull in front of so many people? Han Qian stared at the two dark circles and walked forward. He took the Red Bull and tried it twice without opening it. Secretary General Lee sighed, took the Red Bull, opened it and handed it to Han Qian. It was impossible for Han Qian to just drink it with his head raised. At this time Sun Jianmin spoke. Lead the way. Han Qian put down the Red Bull and shuddered, frowning. Auntie. It's so cold. Secretary General Lee smiled. Did you just sleep? My information says that you worked at Changxiang. Do you know anything about seafood? Han Qian shook his head and frowned. I don't understand, you guys are checking yours. Hey, isn't Mr. Lin, here? The 3 words old bastard almost came out of his mouth. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 764. The people at the Yamen gate inspect everything carefully, from fishing boats to processing and finally to packaging. Sun Jianmin checked very carefully. He checked several boxes of conch meat to be shipped and found no problems. He checked hundreds of bags at once and found no problems. Changxiang's workmanship and hygiene are indeed the best in Binhai City. Sun Jianmin watched the workers working when I picked up a small shrimp and threw it into my mouth while the dryer was operating. A smile finally appeared on my tense face. He walked forward, pinched a small shrimp and smiled. Is this ready to eat? The worker was stunned for a moment and said softly. These shrimps are small and will be almost cooked after drying. When the former vice president came to the factory for a meeting, he specifically told us machine tool operators to taste them from time to time to see the effect. If there are any problems, we should report them as soon as possible. Sun Jianmin frowned slightly and said softly. Former vice president. That's Vice President Wen. Now he has left Changxiang. Vice President Wen treats us very well. We are also very serious about our work. Can you give it a try? Sun Jianmin took a bite of a small shrimp and felt that it tasted really good. When entering the processing area, Han Qian stood at the door and refused to go in. Sun Jianmin frowned and looked at Han Qian. At this time, Cheng Jin explained in a low voice. This bastard doesn't dare to look at the fish killer. People dare to kill, but fish don't. As soon as the words came out, Han Qian shouted. Uncle Sun, please don't talk nonsense. I have never killed anyone. No, 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 I'm scared when I look at it. I'm going back first. You guys can check it out. Han Qian grabbed Qianwan and Wanfang and ran outside. Sun Jianmin shook his head helplessly. As a result, Han Qian met Lin Zongheng as soon as he went out. Han Qian frowned at the sky and said coldly, "A good bastard doesn't block the road." Lin Zongheng frowned. "Han Qian, is it fun to play these little tricks? Can you come up with some tricks that can be put on the table?" Han Qian chuckled. "I took a knife to chop your A. This is on the table, Lin Zongheng. The days are still long and there is still plenty of time, so don't worry. I heard that your Lin family is short of money recently. Do you want it? Can I lend you some?" Lin Zongheng looked at Han Qian with disdain and laughed. "Han Qian, you look like a bitch." Han Qian chuckled. "At least when Luo Shen and I went to bed, he said that I was better than you. Remember to tell me if you have no money. Don't lose the face of Binhai City to Jingxi." Han Qian left, and Lin Zongheng looked at Han Qian's back, his face twisted and hideous. In the evening, Nuan dragged his exhausted body home. Looking at the military coat and shoes thrown at the door, Nuan knew that Han Qian was back. He had been wearing this coat that he got from nowhere since last night. Looking at the two thermos buckets on the dining table, Nuan squinted and smiled. Walking upstairs and pushing open the door to the second bedroom, he looked at the sleeping man hugging the quilt. Nuan stepped forward and gently shook his shoulder. Han Qian opened his eyes in a daze and said vaguely, "The food is on the table, I'm going to take a nap. Would you like some water?" "Drink." Han Qian had the habit of drinking water while sleeping. Nuan took a glass of water. After drinking it, Han Qian got into bed and continued to sleep. Maybe he was too sleepless. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Nuan covered his stomach with his hands and looked at the dishes on the table. The next second he lay on the sofa and hummed softly. "I don't want to move. We'll talk tomorrow." For Nuan, she might forget about this matter tomorrow. She lay on the sofa and watched TV. She wanted to go upstairs and call Han Qian several times, but finally held back, but she still went upstairs and took the photo. A photo of Han Qian sleeping was posted to QQ Space, with a mosquito caption. "A pig." Not long after it was sent out, Nursery Rhyme sent a message. "Why does he go to bed earlier and earlier, he really looks like an old man." Nuan sent the video. In the video, Nursery Rhymes and Yushasai were lying on the same bed, with their heads together making faces. Nuan picked up the phone and walked to the door and whispered, "Look. I don't know where I can get a military coat. It's so dirty." Yushasai laughed. "I really want to see Han Qian wearing this military coat, squatting and smoking at the entrance of the village with his hands in the sleeves. He will probably be very handsome, like that sharp guy." Nursery Rhyme whispered. "Look at the mud on his clothes, what is he doing? I heard that there was a lot of commotion at the Yamen gate today." In the afternoon, Sun Jianmin brought many people to the school to check. King Hu specially called me in advance to inform me. "Pay attention, I'm scared to death, and you should be prepared for Nuan. I guess I will check on Yu Changrong tomorrow." Nuan threw the military coat to the door with a look of disgust and said softly, "Old Wen is at the company, so I don't think I have anything to do. I don't know what Han Qian is busy with today. It's hard to see anyone even a day now. He's not making money just because he's busy. You can do your own poetry tomorrow. I'll take Han Qian's work if Qian stays at home for a day, I'm afraid he will tire himself to death." Yushasai pouted. "Why do you stay? Pretend to have a stomachache. If it doesn't work, call my mother-in-law. I have only one way to deal with Han Qian. There's no point in crying. I can only file a complaint." After chatting with the two little sisters for 20 minutes, a phone call interrupted the video call, and Yan Qingqing said directly, Nuan, where is Han Qian? Why don't you answer the phone?" Nuan walked up the stairs, opened the door and got into bed and said calmly. He's sleeping. He didn't sleep all night last night, and he disappeared again during the day. What's the matter with you? I'll tell him when he wakes up. Qianwan will come to honor to inspect his work at the Yamen gate tomorrow. I want to ask him if he will come to work tomorrow. I made the decision on his behalf. I won't go. He will rest at home tomorrow. Fine. Yan Qingqing hung up the phone and Nuan got into the quilt. She didn't go to Han Qian's room to sleep today because she was worried that it would wake him up. In the middle of the night, Han Qian suddenly sat up and glanced at his phone. 12 o'clock. He got out of bed and opened the door of the master bedroom. He looked at Nuan sleeping soundly and breathed a sigh of relief. He was inexplicably worried about this naive girl. He went downstairs, opened his laptop and logged into QQ. Seeing that Luo Shen's profile picture was still on, Han Qian knocked on the button. A few words passed. No brain, how is your chess piece doing now? As soon as the message was sent, Luo Shen sent a reply. Liwak Xiao, I have obtained the right to check the company's accounts. I just got it today. I called you, but you didn't answer. Brainless, I fell asleep and then woke up. Liwak Xiao, going out for a late night snack. Have a chat? No brain, I'm at home. When Nuan just went to bed. I'll make time to meet and talk about this tomorrow. I dug 2 holes here and waited for him to jump down. We really need to meet. I'll ask Eunuch Lu to come out tomorrow. Let's meet. Liwak Xiao, can you not let me see this eunuch? Why do I find him annoying? He is someone who can kill me. Why should you believe him, Han Qian? Brainless, because I am not his father. Don't argue when you two meet. There are many people in your Luo family who are dissatisfied with Luo Fu. If Xiao Fu wants to stand firm, he needs Xiao Wu's support. Xiao Wu's relationship is a little harder than Xiao Fu's. Liwak Xiao, are you sure Lu Shengyu is not lying to my brother? Brainless, while you are still in power recently, kick your brother to the branch to study with Thetanan, or kick him directly to the northeast branch for training. A man cannot always grow up under the protection of his sister. How about you leave Xiaofu to me for a few days? Liwak Xiao, forget it, I'm afraid that my brother will become a mad dog in the capital, so I'm going to bed. See you tomorrow, okay? Brainless, get out. Then Luo Shen sent an idiotic big cat expression. Han Qian unbuttoned and leaned on the sofa to light a cigarette. Should he ask Yang Jianfeng to give Lin Men some money? Now Han Qian also encountered a problem. Let's call everyone out tomorrow and sit down and have a chat. Dealing with Lin Men is not as easy as dealing with Li Dehai. It is too difficult to kill him with one move. I took a deep breath and opened Plants vs. Zombies. Can't sleep anymore. The sun was very bright and warm. I was lying on the balcony, basking in the sun and reading a book. The long legs of the girl wearing woolen pants were so perfect. But slowly, the book covered her face. The girl fell asleep. Han Qian picked up the clothes. He tiptoed towards the door, and as soon as he opened the doorknob, the girl spoke. Where are you going? You're going to sleep for 2 hours. I'll let you out. Han Qian turned his head and trotted all the way to the girl's folding bed, pinched the girl's perfect legs and said softly. I'm going to meet with Luo Shen and the others today. You can see that I'm in a very good state of mind right now, just let me go. Nuan glanced at Han Qian and said softly. It's no use pinching your legs. It's 1 o'clock. I'll let you out. It's no use even if you roll around in these 3 hours. Xiao Nuan. Don't act like a spoiled brat. After saying that, when Nuan sat up, put down the book, held Han Qian's face with both hands and said helplessly. My brother Qian, I don't want to be a widow yet. Can you please take care of your health? If you have any big event, you must go out today. Be good, walk around, my sister will hug you to sleep. Han Qian pressed Worm's legs to prevent her from getting up, and said softly. It's really serious. I can't let you leave and enjoy it in such a dejected manner. I can't swallow this breath. I'm not in a hurry, why are you in a hurry? Just leave as soon as you leave, you. You are just too persistent. I ordered some wolfberries for you online, and they will almost arrive today. After saying this, Han Qian tilted his head and said doubtfully. Why did you buy me that thing? Wen Nuan narrowed his eyes and smiled. I'll make up for you. How about I go out with you later? Han Qian raised his head and said softly. Aren't you lazy anymore? Nuan turned to look out the window and said softly. I'm lazy. I don't want to move. I'm going to lie down for a while. Don't bother me. I'll let you out at 1 o'clock. After 3 hours of torture, Han Qian's whole body felt bad. When it was almost 1 o'clock, his eyelids started to fight. Han Qian turned his head and glanced at Wen Nuan, who narrowed his eyes and smiled. Can't you bear it anymore? Are you feeling sleepy? You go to sleep now and I'll let you out at night. No cheating. Don't worry, sister won't lie to you. Han Qian fell asleep lying on the sofa. Wen Nuan made Han Qian clearly understand when he was sleepy and when he was thirsty. Wen Nuan lay on the folding bed and looked sideways at Han Qian. As he watched, she felt sleepy. After Nuan fell asleep, Han Qian opened his eyes and sneered. Small, want to play with me? When Han Qian went out to change his shoes, he was stunned, then turned his head and glared at Wen Nuan. She actually asked him to pour water into the shoes. At this time, Wen opened his eyes and sneered. You have Zhang Liang's plan, and my sister has a wall. Are you lying to me? Xiao Han Qian, you are finished. After saying this, Wen Nuan got up and rushed towards Han Qian. Before long, Han Qian was dragged up to the second floor by Wen's heirs. He pulled Han Qian into the master bedroom and then closed the door with his kick. Then Han Qian's trembling begging for mercy came from the master bedroom, followed soon by his wails. On the bed, Wen Nuan had sweat on his forehead, riding on Han Qian's body and tying Han Qian's hands tightly, gritting his teeth. Run. You are running for me. Letting you rest at home for a day is like killing you. Now you are running for me and let me see. Han Qian lay on the bed and closed his eyes. My forehead hurts. He suspected that the blood clot in his head was not caused by fighting with others, but was caused by Wen Nuan's domestic violence. It wasn't until 3 o'clock that Nuan let Han Qian go and told him to get out. I'm going to my mom's place for dinner tonight. If you don't go back there tonight, little Han Qian, just wait to die. Han Qian sat on the bed and sighed. My shoes are all wet from you. There is a pair of sneakers in the TV cabinet. Take them for yourself. You can bring me some snacks when you come back in the evening. Oh. 2 updates today. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 765. Han Qian called Luo Shen. The eldest lady of the Luo family mocked that if Han Qian came out later, her baby would be born soon. Han Qian said something to her angrily, but she didn't take it to heart at all and said not hungry at all. It was still the last time in the billiards hall. At that time, Wei Tiancheng was still pretending to be a good person and being an ally with Han Qian. Han Qian sighed with the passing of time while holding a cigarette in his mouth. How long had it been? Wei Tiancheng actually had nothing to play with. Not long after, the eldest lady wearing a small skirt, leggings and over-the-knee boots came. Today, the eldest lady of the Luo family was dressed in a youthful and sunny manner. The crooked hat on her head had a naughty air. Luoshan opened her arms and Han Qian waved his hand and said. Cold. Too lazy to move. His hands were really in his pockets and he didn't want to take them out. Luo Shen snorted arrogantly. Lu Shengge followed the sound and pointed at Luo Shen and looked at Han Qian. Why did you bring her here? Han Qian frowned. If you have nothing to say, just hold it in. Don't fart all the time. What can I do if I ask her to come? Let's talk about serious things. Lu Shengge pointed to the billiard hall and said. I don't know how to play this. Luo Shen raised his hand and smiled. I can. The three of them walked into the billiard hall. Luo Shen asked for a private room. He walked into the private room and took off his clothes to show off his curvy figure. Lu Shengge curled his lips and said bloated. Luo Shen picked up the black 8 and smashed it at Lu Shengge's head. The latter dodged. When you touch a pool cue, you have to do it. Han Qian stepped forward and stood in front of the two of them, saying helplessly. Can we just fight each other without meeting each other? Luo Shen puts the ball and we two play 2 strokes. Luo Shen obediently went to swing the ball, and Han Qian picked the club and said softly. I have compiled the Lin family's web, and now I am waiting for Lin Mend and his son to jump in. Recently, I have been traveling between Jingxi and Binhai, and I slowly discovered a problem. Eunuch Lu, I may need to trouble you. Lu Shengge sat on the chair with her legs crossed, a coke in her left hand and a cigarette in her right hand. She frowned and looked at Han Qian and said calmly. Do you feel that your influence is not enough after leaving Binhai? Now you are worried that you can't kill Lin Mend at once. Do you want me to go out and shock Lin Mend's so-called allies? Han Qian turned around and nodded vigorously. I just like chatting with you. It's not too easy. If you didn't kill Qian Huan, maybe we can become friends. It seems that Lu Shengge's reputation spreads not because he is a young master in the capital, nor is he a river snake in Binhai. This guy's head is really smart. Lin Zongheng is really far behind him. Lu Shengge curled his lips and said softly. As for Qian Huan, if you were me back then, he might not have died even once. You would probably dig up his body and whip his body. Also, let me say it again, I didn't kill Qian Huan. He was still alive after the car accident, you know, don't you understand? He fell down the stairs and died. Luo Shen on the side was playing by himself, and after kicking off the ball, he wiped his gunpowder and said calmly. Didn't you find someone to push him down? After all, you dared to kill your father. After saying this, Han Qian poked Luo Shen's arm with his club. He thought Lu Shengge would take action, but instead, the guy sat on the chair and shook his head lightly. Luo Shen, what you said is wrong. Qian Huan humiliated my wife in public. As a man, I can't swallow this. In other words, he slapped us both in the face, and I laughed. What happened next? It's okay to pretend it didn't happen, but he should never touch my bottom line, and what's more, Qian Huan is arrogant and has made more enemies than Han Qian does now, and this guy never looks for allies. In his eyes, it's like the Jade Emperor needs him to pour him tea. Han Qian bent down to hit the ball, and the billiard ball went into the hole. Luo Shen licked his lips at Han Qian and said seductively. My marksmanship is pretty good, one hit hits the hole. Han Qian glared at Luo Shen and hit the ball again. Just as he lay down on the table, Luo Shen appeared on the opposite side, using the pool table to support his chest. Han Qian sighed helplessly, stood up, and said softly. No matter what, you had a big reason for Qian Huan's death. Then your wife had a car accident. In fact, you and Qian Ling are evenly matched. Why did you kill your father? After saying this, Luo Shen spoke. This matter is not a secret in the capital. The old man of the Lu family died at the hands of his eldest son. After Eunuch Lu had a car accident, people have always said it was retribution. Lu Shengge. I heard that you gave your old man a little bit. Injected with a large amount of sleeping pills? Is it true? Lu Shengge said indifferently. You look like that big idiot. Luo Shen grabbed the billiard ball, and Han Qian stretched out his hand to stop him. At this time, Lu Shenge lowered his head and took a deep breath. My old man was a good man when he was young. He was a very kind man. But since he took over the Lu group, he seems to have become a different person. Domestic violence against my mother is commonplace. He once beat me and I started to beat her back. Xiao Wu honestly didn't dare to resist. When he finally sent someone to kill my mother and my wife, I knew that I couldn't let him continue to mess around. Han Qian, I envy you for having a good father. Han Qian shrugged and said. About 3 months, that is, in the spring of next year, it will be almost time for the plan to be implemented. When I take action, I will ask you to scare those who want to help. As a benefit, I will spare your life. Oh, I have to thank young Master Han. When your father spared my life, I burned 3 incense sticks for him when I went home. After the Lin family fell, have you ever thought about what will happen to Binhai City? After finishing his words, Luo Shen spoke. When the Lin family collapsed, you were the only one in Binhai shopping mall. Yan Qingqing, who enjoyed the warmth and glory, was the 2 heads of your harem. Cai King Hu Yaman's influence and strong assets will not be let go by Binhai City Yamanmen. If your family is the only one, they will immediately bring up another force to compete with you. Han Qian tilted his head and said doubtfully. Is there any other way to say this? Lu Shenge pouted. Otherwise, how do you think glory rose up in the first place? Without the support of the Yamanmen, we could be on equal footing with Chang Xiang so quickly? Han Qian, let me ask you something, was Feng Lun hired by Lin Mend? If so, then I also know that I have been abandoned by the Yamanmen. Han Qian smiled and shook his head. It's not abandonment. He suddenly retired and went home to retire, just to prepare a nirvana. It's a pity that Feng Lun betrayed him and he was fooled. Luo Shen asked. Is Feng Lun a good guy or a bad guy? Han Qian and Lu Shenge looked at each other and spoke at the same time. Pure bad guy. They both guessed what the other wanted to say. After Han Qian played a few times at the billiard table, Luo Shen continued to play the ball. Han Qian sat down and opened a bottle of Coke and whispered. My plan for Lin Men this time is a bit messy. I haven't figured it out yet, but there should be no problem. I've been plotting against the Lin family since I was fighting to the death with you and Lin Zongheng in the mountains. After that, I asked a lot of people, and I got some information. In short, now it is Lin Mend who has touched the money in the company's accounts, and I asked people from Luoshan to become new shareholders and enter Changxiang Group to ask for an audit. Lu Shenge smiled. Then you want Lin Mend to get money from you in some way? You do have the capital. After all, there is a bottomless lady Cai behind you. When the time comes, let Lin Mend buy the 150 shares at a low price. Come back. Han Qian, you are so insidious. If nothing happens, you may have other plans, and this plan has a lot to do with me. Han Qian also smiled and nodded. Lu Shenge frowned and was silent for a while, then stood up and said angrily. Han Qian, you are so damn insidious. I finally know why you called me and Luo Shen here today. You must draw some blood for this matter. Han Qian frowned. What benefit do you want? May I introduce someone to Xiao Wu? Do you think Qianwan can do it? Get out of here. Luo Shen on the side looked at the 2 guys playing riddles with confusion, his face full of doubts, and he said in confusion. What are you 2 talking about? Why can't I understand? Lu Shenge said without even thinking. Say you're like a humming bus. Lu Shenge, I will hum your mother. Luo Shen hit Lu Shenge on the back with a cue. Lu Shenge was furious. He rushed forward, picked up Luo Shen and smashed it on the pool table. Fortunately, there was no ball on the table. Luo Shen grabbed Lu Shenge's hair and bit it. Lu Shenge is also ruthless. Han Qian had a headache when he saw it, so he stepped forward and pulled the two apart. Luo Shen's disheveled hair was no longer ladylike, and he was still holding a lock of hair in his hand. Lu Shenge covered the back of his head and glared at Luo Shen, gritting his teeth. "I'll get someone to humming kill you with a car. Damn eunuch! You dare to play dirty tricks." Han Qian pushed away the two guys who were about to attack again and said helplessly. "Can you two stop arguing? We still need to cooperate. I'll go find Gao Xing and the others later, will you two go?" Lu Shenge shook off Han Qian's arm and frowned. "Gao Jingxing? If I go to hell, will he still show up? I don't care about these things, I act based on interests, but now you tell me, Yates said there is a traitor around me, who is this traitor?" Han Qian tilted his head and said doubtfully. "What kind of traitor? When did Yates tell you? You only have those few things around you. You can figure it out for yourself. I don't know about this. Are you sure you won't go for a while? So be it, I won't see them either. Now, will you two go to Jingxi with me?" Lu Shenge said angrily. "What the hell, is Yang Ji Unfeng worth me?" Luo Shen answered. "No. I'm not in the mood. I'm going to call someone to beat this eunuch to death." "Stinky Sanba, you want to fight, don't you? Come on, call me now, I'll find 100 humming people to gang rape you. It doesn't hurt your self-esteem to watch from the sidelines. Should I draft it?" Luo Shen. The fight was about to start again. Han Qian grabbed the two of them and left the billiard hall with his head under one arm. He couldn't start fighting here. On the road, the foreign bodyguard near stood beside the car, throwing a knife in her hand, blowing bubble gum and staring at the 200-pound black bodyguard standing at the door like she was staring at prey. Watching Luo Shen and Lu Shenge leave, Han Qian took a deep breath. A kid from a rich family always brings a bodyguard when he goes out. Han Qian got into the car and didn't go 200 meters when he saw the shadow of an acquaintance. "What's this monster hanging around here?"